And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Welcome to Open Connection. I'm your host, Robert Pictou. In 1956, the League of American Wheelmen, known today as the League of American Bicyclists, organized the first Bike to Work Day to promote cycling for fun, fitness, and transportation. Today, Bike to Work Week is celebrated worldwide. We begin in today's Open Connection with Corey Safe, one of the 3 organizations participating in Bike to Work Week.
In 2005, my son bought his very large motorcycle, super sport bike, and that very same day, he wrote his knowledge motorcycle test. Literally 24 hours later, he died on the Malahat Highway, not being able to navigate a turn.
I guess the most shocking part of this whole thing is the timeline between when he was legally allowed to ride a motorcycle to the time where he actually was able to purchase a motorcycle that was way beyond anyone's ability as a first-time rider.
There is no timeline in that respect. I mean, you can write your knowledge test, and as long as you have a supervisor with you, you can be on the road that same day. So you need to have a supervisor with you to be able to be on the road and teach you all the ropes of the road.
You have also reached out to like the RCMP and done presentations to communities to bring this awareness out, right?
Since 2015, we worked together with Road Safety BC, and we did we configured a PowerPoint presentation, and that we did that over 2015. 2016, we took it to Kitimat and to Terrace and to Prince Rupert as a pilot project with Road Safety, and the RCMP, of course, and just to see how the reception for it would be. And it was an overwhelming success. You know, knowledge is power, and, you know, the students were looking for different things that are out there, right? So we had done a few things with Road Safety BC, and we tweaked it a little bit, and we just continued on taking it. And the RCMP have their role that they play in it. You know, the students have heard about breathalyzers, right? They've never seen one. They've never participated in it. Most of the time they haven't. And so the RCMP, we talk about drug and alcohol, how it'll affect you in the future if you like to go traveling. You know, what you do now can definitely impact what you are going to do or want to do later. You know, so choose carefully in the choices that you make. So the RCMP officer, they bring the breathalyzer out. We ask a student to come up, and, you know, they go through the breathalyzer, and all of them are green. They show good. So we're all like this. But I mean, you know, it's a high impact for them to understand that this is real and it can happen to you, and this is what the RCMP will do, you know, if in a situation where they need to use that, right? It's really good. It's a very good learning curve for the students.
Have you gotten feedback from those students that were saying, I didn't realize that yet this is life and death? Because that's really what we're talking about.
You know, it's so interesting that you say that. So we send a form back to the school and to give us feedback on how well we did, and to see where the students grasped it, you know, and how they thought about it. And honest to God, we have done very good with what the schools come back with. And at the end, the RCMP have students come up so that they can have more students come and try the breathalyzer. And then we're at where all the gear is. so that the kids can come and actually physically see it, feel it, totally understand what safety gear is all about. And at that point, they share their stories with you. You know, I had one girl in Gold River, and she says, well, I ride. And I says, oh, that's awesome. I said, what do you ride? You know, and she was a dirt biker, right? So the age of dirt bikes. And she said, you know, I have all of the gear except this one. I didn't realize that the neck brace was so important. I said, it very much so is very important to wear, right? And she says, but I need to tell you something. She goes, I dress for the slide and not the ride. I went, oh my gosh, can I use that? She was so sweet, you know, and they tell you the stories and things that they didn't know, you know, and then they share it because they're a community in themselves in those situations, right? So they share the knowledge with one another because they want to keep one another safe at the same time, right? It's www.coreysafe.com. We also are on Facebook, which is Corey Safe Society. And all of the information is right there. Please just send us a message and we'll get back to you as soon as possible and would love to come to your community.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Thank you for staying with us. Northern British Columbians live, play, and work in some of the most rugged and dangerous geography in the entire world. The result is more than 22,000 British Columbians experience brain injuries every year. In our next segment, Northern Brain Injuries Association of British Columbia's remote caseworker, Taka Sable.
Our head office is in Prince George, where our executive director, Ryan Challen, works out of, and he's kind of our coordinator, our community coordinator as well. And we service the entire north. There's 7 of us now, and we have 3 offices. One is in Prince George, one in Dawson Creek, and one in Smithers. So among 7 of us, remote case managers, we service the entire northern region of BC. We service a niche of individuals who have acquired brain injury after birth, and it can be as a mild traumatic brain injury, like a mild concussion, to something as serious as a car accident or surgery, or something more serious, a stroke, those kinds of things that can change the way the brain functions instantly. We have case managers who work with other community services and regulated medical and health services together, helping individuals and families form a team, a wellness team, and navigating them through different processes of accessing different services and things. So we act as a liaison for them and a support to them, as well as educating them about their injury and that sort of thing, helping them and communicating with other services.
And of course, one of those things that's I guess frustrating in your position is a lot of these individuals that come to you, or it could be a number of them, it was actually preventable. It's something as simple as wearing a bicycle helmet, right?
Absolutely. And that's a big part of what we do is we teach community about preventing brain injuries in a number of different scenarios. And one of the big ones in the spring is about bike safety and helmet safety. And wearing a helmet, there was a report released by the RCMP on last month, April 17th. And their latest statistics are that wearing a helmet reduces serious head injury, like fractured skull, by 60%. It reduces the incidence of serious traumatic brain injuries by 53%, and reduces even the risk of fatality or death by 34%. So just simply wearing a helmet, making sure that it fits properly, making sure that it's up to scratch and not old, worn out, or previously been dented up or in an accident, and making sure you're wearing a helmet that fits and that is suited for the activity that you're doing will make all the difference.
You partner with other organizations and you sponsor
Yes.
the events to kind of do these things to make sure that the public knows about a proper fitment of a helmet.
We partner to do bike rodeos in the community. Sometimes it just depends on, it can be with schools or with the RCMP or other recreational organizations, different things that involve kids or adults. And we have booths and we do helmet fittings in sports events and educate the public, the trainers and coaches, as well as parents and so on, about concussion management, as well as prevention and proper helmet fitting.
And, of course, that's just one aspect of what you do there. Do you guys have like a website or anything like that where people can go to find out more about the services that your organization offers?
Well, they can call any one of our offices or any one of us individually at 250-562-4673. That's our central office. And in the Northwest here, it'd be 250-641-4673. And you could also look up the numbers of the other areas as well. And each area is unique in what the needs are and what we can provide. Here in the Northwest, where we have a couple of support groups, one in Kitimat, one in Terrace, as well as the remote case management. And we're always morphing to whatever the needs of the community are. In some places they have walking groups. In other places there's a stroke group that's targeted just for them. Northern Brain Injury Association has quite a number of services that include prevention aspect, support to families and individuals through their journey of rebuilding and recovery from brain injury, as well as education to the public and to professionals who work with people with brain injury. So we fill a kind of a unique niche, and we're supported by the Brain Injury Alliance. That's our main funder, as well as Northern Health and Gaming, United Way, and a number of other funding agencies that keep us going.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Welcome back to Open Connection. Synchronicity is defined by the experience of meaningful events in one's life that are so timely in occurrence, it feels as though some hand of fate or destiny is involved. In the next two segments, Reverend Terry Mary shares how a chance conversation in a hospital parking lot changed her life.
One day I was taking a pastoral education course at Prince George Hospital. Fella had a bike, a dirty, beat up bike in the back of his pickup. We started talking and he says, "What did you want if you had a bike to get?" And I said, "I've always liked Honda Shadows, and I've told 750, they look like Harleys, but they're not. Easier to maintain, all of these good things." The very next morning, I was heading from Quesnel back up to Prince George. There was this bike in the middle on the side of the road with a for sale sign, Honda Shadow 750, all the things that I've been looking for. And it was my favorite color. That's important. Didn't know how to ride. A week later, I was back in Quesnel with a trailer. I put it on a trailer and brought it back to Terrace, and then took lessons from that fellow that comes from Vanderhoof, who has that big tractor trailer full of bikes. And thank goodness, the moment I was on that little 250 Rebel, I had a grin from ear to ear, and I couldn't lose it. So it's a good thing, because I'd bought the bike. It would have been terrible if I didn't like to ride. And then locally, groups of folks said, there's a group within Terrace that meet at Tim Hortons on Wednesdays, and they ride together. So I actually crashed a Tim Hortons coffee party and and started riding with them. And they're part of Women in the Wind. They were a chapter up here in Terrace, and there's actually another chapter in Prince Rupert, one in Prince George. And it was very smart. You know, you learn how to ride through this fellow from Vanderhoof, teaches you the basics, takes you through the testing, and then to actually go out and ride with a group of people who, I mean, they just want you to learn, and safety in numbers and tips on how to ride. So it was probably the wisest thing I ever did. It was the right time and the right place. Women in the Wind, the patch here, they've been it's an international women's riding organization, the largest in the world. They've been going for over 40 years. And they have chapters now in New Zealand, Nepal, Jordan, of course, a ton in the States, across Canada. And it's a fun organization to be part of. Even if they don't know my name, they know me as the motorcycle minister. So it's a fun thing. I'm with the United Church. I'm full-time in Kitimat at First United Church. And annually for the last few years now, we've been offering a bike and rider blessing. And it started with riders. We had riders from Prince Rupert, riders from Terrace come together in a church parking lot. And then it's just expanded with families, kids on bicycles and mountain bikes and trikes and, you know, three-wheelers, two-wheelers, families, individuals coming together. And at the start of the biking season, and just, you know, riding, whether you're a pedal bike or a motorcycle, it can be dangerous. And just to be together, to offer blessing, to be blessed for a safe season of riding, for a lot of people, it's really important. You know, even if they aren't churchgoers, they'll come to the bike and rider blessing.
Now, myself, I haven't experienced a bike blessing, is it?
Yeah, bike and rider blessing. So
walk me through exactly what happens when the crowd starts arriving.
Well, folks park, they generally ride in and park their bikes, gather wherever they are. And when it comes time, I have a handout so that people can follow along and respond to prayers. And we actually go through the pieces and the parts of the bike to bless the brakes and the tires and all the parts and pieces that we need to keep going, as well as ourselves for safety. And then I have gone around as well with some water and a cedar branch and kind of do a little bit of a sprinkling on the riders. And it's not quite champagne bottle on the hull, but it is a way to just send us off into a good season.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Being one with nature means you're letting yourself absorb what comes natural in life. There is an immediate feeling of relief when you let yourself experience this. In this final segment of Open Connection, Reverend Terry Mayer shares how a solo motorcycle trip affected her life.
Took the ferry from Prince Rupert down, and it was just, I took that one trip alone, and that was it. I knew that I wanted to do more road, long distance traveling on motorcycle. In some ways, it is a bit of a spiritual practice. I have a canoe, very similar, going out in the moment, very peaceful, feeling at one with nature. I really feel like I'm loved by the holy when I'm in that canoe and surrounded the eagles and loons. And on the motorcycle, it's a similar thing. I don't know if you've ever been in a vehicle and you've gone from point A to point B and you can't remember the ride. You get to where you're going and it's like, was that a red light? Because we just go on autopilot so often when we're driving, and we're kind of separated from our surroundings. But on the motorcycle, partly because it is, you know, not a lot of people look for motorcycles. That's why it's always a good reminder when you're out, and even with your kids, get your kids in the car to look for motorcycles. So you just become more aware of them around you. But when you're on the bike, because you know a lot of people aren't paying attention, we have to be extra vigilant. You know, it's not just about keeping our bikes safe not just about wearing the right equipment and the good helmets and all of those things. Even if we're a cyclist, we just have to be so aware who's behind us, who's beside us, coming up to an intersection. And because of that sort of in the now, that's the language, and being in the now, not thinking about what you just left, not thinking about all the stuff you have to do, but being in the moment allows me, when I'm riding, you smell the grass, you smell the flowers, you smell the trees, when you can feel the temperature change. Like I love riding up to the Nass and you go over Goat Creek and the temperature drops like you're cooking on your motorcycle, and then you go over that creek and the temperature drops 15 degrees, and you don't feel that when you're in your truck or you're in your car. So it really is in the present, feeling a part of it all. I took a trip over the Monashees. We were heading to Alberta. We took the Lawnway, Vernon, across the Monashees, up the Arrow Lakes, Hot Springs. And at one point we were along the Arrow Lakes and the trees were just up beside me and it dropped off to the lake, and this eagle came out and it was right above my head for a good 7 seconds. It felt like I could just reach up and pull on its talons. And as it drifted off down towards the lake, I was hooting. I was like, wow, that was amazing. It felt like I was just flying with the eagle for just that brief little bit of time. So I think I've just gotten off topic, but that's what I love about riding. It's just, it is a spiritual practice.
And I guess you fly in the face of convention when it comes to, okay, only certain types of people ride motorcycles.
When I first met this group of women in the wind here, most of them were retired nurses. Of all people to be riding motorcycles, I thought, nurses, aren't you like in emergency rooms and wouldn't you be frowning on any? No, most of them they just love to ride. And I've met so many different people through this organization and local riders. Nobody ever got to the end of their life and regretted the things that they did. It's the stuff they don't do that they regret, right? And there's just been so many blessings, so many people that I've met along the way and experiences that have enriched my life, memories that I will hold, laughter that it's stuff that's good for the soul. And so whatever it is, whatever your passion is, if you can do it, even in small scale, just dip your toe in, highly, highly recommend it. Like I said, canoeing was the same thing for me. I bought a canoe and boy, I just love to go out on the water. And my dream would be to have a trailer on my bike that I could carry my canoe, because it's really hard when the sun is shining. Do I go paddle or do I go ride? And I have dogs, so I carry my dogs on the bike or in the canoe. So they have their safety gear too in both places, life jackets, and I just need to get some motorcycle helmets for the dogs. They've got goggles. They're called doggles.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Open Connection. The greatest distance in the existence of man is not from here to there, but that connection from his mind to his heart. If we can conquer that distance, we can soar like an eagle and realize our immensity within. I'm Robert Pictou.